Welcome back to CIA Declassified. Today we step away from the mechanical and into the biological. We're looking at a project that existed in the shadows of the Korean War, a project that predates the infamy of MK Ultra but provided its most terrifying foundations. This is Project QKHILLTOP. In 1954, the CIA's Office of Security was faced with the crisis of loyalty. The Manchurian Candidate was no longer a fictional troop. It was a perceived national security threat. Based on document number CIA RDP81-00261R000300050012-6, we are tracing the agency's collaboration with the Chinese Nationalists to master the double agent. This wasn't just interrogation, this was the architecture of shock. To understand QKHILLTOP, we have to look at the location. The agency didn't perform these experiments in Virginia. They went to the front lines of the ideological war, Taiwan. The Chinese nationalists had spent years studying communist re-education camps. They claimed to have found the pressure points of the soul. The CIA, eager to learn how to flip captured communist agents or protect their own from being turned, formed a joint task force. The collaboration focused on extra-legal interrogation. Because it happened on foreign soil, the standard constitutional protections for subjects were non-existent. The agency provided the funding and the psychological oversight. The nationalists provided the subjects, often captured infiltrators or suspect double agents whose lives were considered expendable in the heat of the Cold War. What exactly is psychological shock? According to the declassified memos, it is the systemic dismantling of a human identity to create a tabula rasa, a clean slate. The QKHILLTOP protocol involved three distinct phases of shock. 1. Sensory overload and deprivation. Subjects were kept in total darkness for 72 hours, interrupted by bursts of high-intensity white noise and strobe lights. This was designed to shatter the subject's internal clock and sense of self. 2. Chemical destabilization. The documents mention the use of amobarbitol and mescaline. These weren't used as truth serums, but as tools to induce identity confusion. And 3, the interrogation peak. Once the subject reached a state of psychological regression, essentially acting like a terrified child, the interrogator would step in as a protector or father figure. Declassified quote, "The objective is not the extraction of data, but the total reorientation of the subject's loyalties through the induction of acute emotional trauma." While the ethics were non-existent, the operational breakthroughs from QKHILLTOP changed the CIA forever. As far as operational breakthroughs go, the project perfected the polygraph interrogation loop. They realized that the polygraph was most effective not as a lie detector, but as a psychological prop. Interrogators would show subjects a fake polygraph reading to convince them the agency already knew everything, triggering the shock of discovery that led to full confessions. As far as technological breakthroughs go, QKHILLTOP researchers developed early prototypes of suboral stimuli. These were audio recordings played just below the threshold of conscious hearing during the deprivation phases. They found that repetitive messaging during sleep deprivation could seed ideas in a subject's mind that they would later believe were their own. This was the birth of modern black psychology in intelligence. If you look at document number CIA RDP81-00261R000300050012-6, you will find that nearly 40% of the treatment results section is blacked out. These are the deep redactions. Speculation? Given the context of the surrounding text, which mentions, quote, unanticipated neurological responses, end quote, it is highly probable that these redacted sections detail permanent brain damage or fatalities during the shock phase. There are also references to, quote, field test agent redacted, end quote. This suggests that QKHILLTOP moved beyond the lab. The blacked out pages likely detail a real-world operation where a broken and rebuilt agent was sent back across the border into communist China. The silence in the files suggests this rebuilt agent either failed immediately or committed an act so heinous the agency had to bury the entire operational history. Was it a success? Clinically, no. The agency found that while they could break a man, they couldn't reliably rebuild one. The subjects often became, quote, psychologically brittle, end quote. They would confess to anything to stop the pain, making their intel worthless. They were, quote, flipped, but they were also, quote, broken. However, institutionally, QKHILLTOP was a massive success for the Office of Security. It proved that the human mind could be manipulated as a technical system. It laid the groundwork for QBARC, the CIA's official interrogation manual, and provided the data that led directly to the creation of MKUltra. By the late 1954, QKHILLTOP was officially terminated, its findings folded into Project Artichoke. The collaboration with the nationalists ended and the sterile rooms in Taiwan were scrubbed clean. But the architecture of shock didn't disappear. It just became more sophisticated. The lessons learned in the darkness of 1954 still echo in the enhanced interrogation debates of the 21st century. Next time on CIA Declassified, we go even deeper into the chemical war for the mind. We move from the psychological shock of the 50s to the pharmaceutical truth serums of the 1940s. We will be opening the file on Project Shatter. Starting in 1947, the Navy and the CIA began a desperate search for a drug that could eliminate the human will. We will explore the use of basin and scopolamine on unwitting subjects. This was the project that turned the interrogation room into a laboratory. How do you make a man tell the truth when his brain is telling him to lie? Join us next time for Project Shatter, the pharmacological key. In the meantime, I'll see you in the archives.